It's been a while since we've spoken on this channel. Obviously, it hasn't really been much Arsenal news, but with the international break, Merino, Rice, Madueke, all cooking. I thought it'd be good to do a video chatting about a few things. It's always interesting in these international breaks, what becomes a topic of conversation. Mikel Merino and his time at Arsenal has certainly become one, and also the way he's used. A lot of people are going, okay, this knack for goal scoring is no accident. It wasn't just a purple patch. This is someone who really knows how to find the back of the net. How do we get the best out of that at Arsenal? And it's difficult because we've got Zubimendi, Ødegaard, Eze, Rice, like all players that you're expecting, even when airy, all players that I think as a fan base we'd rather give the minutes to in midfield over Merino. He is giving something though as a goal scoring threat that it can't be ignored, let's put it that way. Now, he scored a hat-trick for Spain, really good hat-trick. Goal from distance in there. One finish that reminded me of his goal against Real Madrid, where he I don't think he even takes a touch. He just left foot, bam, finds the far corner. He's really, really good at sort of understanding how and when to pull the trigger. Do you have much time to do it, or do you set yourself and go? He's a player who absolutely signed as a 6/8, we thought, and we're going to talk about that because tactically it's very interesting in terms of how we use him. He's someone who actually in the final third is doing so much more than I think any of us ever expected him to. When he's playing for Spain, like, it's no accident, right? They don't play with an out-and-out 10, but they've got a lot of guile in other ways, which is why I don't think he suits a Zubimendi-Rice combination, Merino. I think he suits more a Rice-Ødegaard or a Zubimendi-Ødegaard combination, especially because Merino does bring some steel and does bring some off-the-ball work. And some people have been leaping to Arteta's defence saying, well, see, you all complained about Merino in the 10, but Spain are doing it. And I'm like, yeah, I kind of hear that, but also I do believe that Merino was selected for that game for his off-the-ball work, for his ability to press, for the steel he brings. And he does all that brilliantly. I think we do this with Martinelli as well. We're getting to a point where we're starting to not appreciate the off-the-ball stuff because we're not sort of particularly happy with what they do on the ball. I think there was this, who was it? It wasn't a Johan Cruyff quote, was it? I can't remember, but someone said basically a footballer averages something like 3 minutes of a whole game actually on the ball. So what they do off the ball is so important. And Merino has that in abundance. He absolutely is an incredibly reliable player off the ball. But on the ball, or let's say in attack, in possession, Arsenal can definitely use him a little bit more because he's got this ability to smell where the ball's going to land, make runs that he understands his teammates are capable of finding him in certain ways. He's a real, he's a great finisher. Bar Gyökeres, I think he's one of the best finishers. I think he's the best finisher at the club. I just have Gyökeres above him because of his goal record. Obviously, I haven't seen too much of Gyökeres. And that's got to be something Arsenal can use in some way. Now, when you look at the first 6 months of Kai Havertz at Arsenal, we played with Rice at the 6 and Ødegaard as the 8. So we had Havertz as this Raumdeuter, this space invader, essentially, is what it means. Someone whose job was, without the ball, to run into areas, make runs, and try and essentially get on the end of things and play off the on-the-ball qualities of everyone around him. And I think Merino is someone that we could use in a similar way. The only thing is that when you play as one of the double pivot players for Arsenal, and okay, we could ask Ødegaard to do that and build up with Zubimendi, but the problem is that Merino's going to be asked to do stuff on the ball to feet, when pressed, and I don't know how massively naturally that comes to him. Now, I think he's a much more technical player than people give him credit for. I think he's better on the ball than people give him credit for. And I think doing that Granit Xhaka underlapping run that we saw, Granit do in his final few years, I think Merino's really suited to. But there's definitely some things in terms of the first phase of the game that I'm not sure massively suits Merino. So how do you tweak that dynamic? But the problem is you don't want to... Okay, so we can say, well, let's just put Merino in the 10 and then Ødegaard and Zubimendi. But then you're moving Ødegaard maybe to left 8, and then he's a creative force in and around Eze, who's another creative force, and then Saka loses a key player for him. Or you could say, okay, well, Ødegaard can drop deep from the right, but then you're still pulling him away from the higher areas of the game. And I think the whole point of having Zubimendi and Rice, which I've talked about in the most recent Goonerverse video, the whole point of having them as a double pivot together is so that Odegaard can get further forward. We can hopefully try and unlock some of the football he had of a few years ago with Eze moving in from the left, and then there's a good balance there with 2 10s in the pocket. So he's going to be... Merino has to be used more, but he has to be used well. And I think Arteta absolutely knows Merino's strengths because he moved him up front and got all those goals out of him. So Arteta absolutely knows what to do with Merino in terms of the player as an individual, but in terms of the dynamic of the 11, I'm fascinated to see what Mikel does with Mikel. So yeah, but good on him. Starting for Spain, scoring goals, 6-0 win against Turkey and a hat-trick to show for it. And he scores a range of goals from distance, left foot quick finishes, headers, box crashing. He can do it all. Speaking of box crashing, England, I mean, some great representation on the Arsenal front with Eze, Rice, Madueke all playing. Rice box crashed, scoring the kind of goal that I think he's really suited to, which is running to that left back post, nodding it into the back of the net. I think he's really suited to that. It's what I said in the Goonerverse video recently. I want to see him running onto the play, not standing in the pockets, not standing in the last line, a la David Silva, but actually starting the double pivot and then running onto the play. But again, as we covered in that video, I think he's actually going to be sitting back a little bit more and sweeping up to let the more naturally flair players play. But these are all really good options Arsenal have for how they want to attack with a Rice, with a Merino. There'll definitely be some box crashing goals this season because Arsenal have that quality too much in the team to not take advantage of it. Especially when Madueke is whipping good balls into the box, which was an own goal, scored. Was it against Andorra? Was it Andorra? I can't remember. But it came from Madueke's cross. We know Saka has that in abundance. And on to Madueke now. Good on him. Like, in the absence of Saka, I think he's looking lively, and I think not everything's always coming off. Certainly didn't against Liverpool, but there was a lot of endeavour and a lot of try, and wingers who take on their man more are going to lose the ball more, and that's what I'm encouraged by with Madueke. He is someone who, when we signed him, a lot of people described him as a maverick winger, and I didn't really see that. I thought, why? Because he's someone who looks quite controlled. The ball comes to him, he puts his foot on it, and he's like, facing up the fullback before he decides whether to go on the outside or the inside or play it back. I thought there was always like a real thought process to everything he did. But when I saw him against Liverpool, I went, oh, this is quite maverick. And we especially saw it when he went to the right against Leeds. This was someone who was getting the ball, and actually I think we saw when he played on the left for Chelsea as well, was just getting the ball and going, right, I'm going to take you on. Raw speed, bam, I'm going for it. And I'm going to look a little bit messy in how I do it, and then I'm going to look really classy in other ways how I do it too. And I think that's what you get with the maverick winger, someone who is just kind of like constantly gets you on the edge of your seat. And like, I think Madueke still has levels to go in terms of his development and improving, but there's definitely an intent to play that position in that kind of way. And I really like it. And I think we saw a little bit of that for England, but I think we certainly saw glimpses of that against Kirkes, against Liverpool. Look, you won't find a better understudy to Bukayo Saka. Like, you just fundamentally won't. Like, not, again, people talk about others that were on the market like Kudus or whatever, but Madueke is someone who's willing to play understudy to Saka while trying to force his way into that position, but also onto the left, and sort of knowing that there's other ways into this team. And I think that signing, look, we'll see. We need to see him a lot more for Arsenal, but I think it's going to age really well in terms of actually how much it's going to hurt, how much it's going to help Arsenal to even be able to bring a Saka off and bring a Madueke on, or to have him as a left-footed option on the left. I always said I didn't rate the signing as our standard winger signing, but the minute he was the third attacker to Gyökeres and Eze in terms of the profile of signing, I thought actually I like it. Let's just hope he keeps getting better. But I liked what I saw from him for England. What I saw against Liverpool too. He's not Bukayo Saka, but he's not expected to be. But he certainly gives us something I'm liking in that position. So good on him. Even though he did it for England, I'm sure he'll do it more for Arsenal. And we'll probably see him start in that position against Forest next weekend, or this weekend. Everyone, there'll be a Goonerverse podcast with Sharoy out tomorrow, so look out for that. But that's pretty much it from me. That's a little brief catch-up on the internationals. Yeah, big up Rice, Madueke, and Merino. They're all doing good on international duty. I'm sure others are too. Saliba, by the way, the rumours are that he's out 3 to 4 weeks, but I'll discuss that with Sharoy on the podcast. All right, catch you all in a bit.